Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in. Yeah, oh yeah.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss The Big Lebowski, which came out in 1998 from writers, directors, the Coen brothers. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis for The Big Lebowski?
Well, the story follows Jeffrey Lebowski, played by Jeff Bridges, who's better known as The Dude. The Dude has gotten himself involved in some case of mistaken identity and has managed to get himself involved in a case of kidnapping as well. The Dude's rug has been peed on, and so he's gone about to try to get a replacement. But has to find out if this woman has actually been kidnapped, where she is, where the money is, and has to deal with a whole host of weird characters that are intruding on his life, while he's also trying to keep himself involved in his local bowling tournament and his team.
You know, the Coen brothers movies are some of the most highest or highly regarded films of all time.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of them will appear in the films to see before you die, or heralded as perhaps the greatest comedies ever. And I always have a love-hate relationship with any Coen brother movie. Often or not, I find the fact that the first time I watch a Coen brother movie, I honestly feel like it was dreck. That it was horrible, a horrible, vapid experience to which nothing really mattered and nothing really was resolved by the end of it.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is just a slice of life in the Coen brothers sort of, sphere of storytelling.
Yeah.
Big Lebowski was no different. I got this film in sort of early 2000s. I purchased the DVD and I watched it through and it was like, that wasn't good. That wasn't bad. It's a film I'm going to put on my shelf and forget about. And, a few years later, I was like, maybe, just maybe, there's something there within that film. I'll watch it again.
Yeah.
And my life has changed completely, I'm like one step away from converting to dudism, That's how much of an impact this film has had. And the way I see it is that the film was, critics and audience for that film, they didn't really understand what The Big Lebowski was saying, whether it was its comments on society. This film is gone against the grain in every way.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, it's still very enjoyable to watch, whether you're on your second, third, or 50th, 100th viewing of this film. It's magic.
Yeah, see, for me, the Coen brothers go up there with Wes Anderson. You only really watch their films if you know them. I remember sitting down before I watched The Big Lebowski, I sat down and watched Fargo. And I expected, when I first sat down to watch Fargo, I expected a whole lot more. And then what I got was just a story. But it was a story that kept me wrapped up with all the characters and all the actors. The same with, like, The Hudsucker Proxy, or Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And all the way up to nowadays with No Country for Old Men. I mean, I found No Country for Old Men really, really difficult to get through. But I was experienced. I was an experienced Coen brother viewer. So I just knew I just had to get through it to get it all and get to the end. And I'd make my own decision after that. And I think it was you who actually said to me, back in the day, you need to watch The Big Lebowski. And I was just like, I've gone a bit off of Jeff Bridges now. He did some really good stuff with Blown Away, and Arlington Road. And obviously I'm a big fan of Tron. But there was just something about it, especially when you see the poster with him and John Goodman and you see that foot. And you're like, what the fuck is this all about? And the way that the film starts, it basically tells you from the start with the narrator, Sam Elliott, basically saying to you, you know what? This is just a cool tale that I know. And I'm just going to tell you this story. And so you immediately just kind of go, you know what? I'm not going to question anything that's going on. I'm not going to look for hidden messages and I'm not going to look for social commentary. I'm just going to sit back, kick back, and just let the film wash over me.
Yeah, but then even the opening narrator loses his trail of thought as he's giving the narration. He's like, what was I saying again? Oh, it doesn't matter. Here's the dude.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that sort of structural setup right at the beginning just also tells you as an audience, like even the guy who's telling the story doesn't know what's going on, but what's going on doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
What matters is the dude.
Yeah. it's the dude. We watch him walk around that supermarket. You know, I love the little things that you notice after your fourth or fifth time of watching this movie. It's like he opens up that milk carton and he smells it, and it's not until you see him at the counter and he's got a bit of milk in his mustache and you're like, he drank that, sneaky bastard.
I always thought, you know, conspiracy theorists always have a fun time with this, but it's the fact that he looks up at the television, you know, and this is sort of the film's sort of setting the time as well with George Bush Sr. sort of giving the speech on the television.
Yeah.
And then the date that he writes down on the check, which is September 11th. And it's just like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
A bit awkward.
Yeah. But I always find it interesting that everything that the dude hears other people say in the film, he will often repeat it to other people later on.
Yeah.
And that kind of happens with other characters who weren't even in those scenes, but they'll take and sort of mix and match lines of dialogue from somewhere and then use it later on.
This will not stand, this aggression against Kuwait.
No, I do mind. The dude minds. This will not stand, you know? This aggression will not stand, man.
Been banging Jackie Treehorn, to use the parlance of our times. However,
Look at it, you know, a young trophy wife in the parlance of our times, you know.
I will not abide another toe.
The dude abides.
We follow the dude back home, and as soon as he walks through the door, he gets attacked by two guys. And one of them grabs his head and shoves it down the toilet and keeps questioning him about this money. Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the money? And while he's getting his head thrown down the toilet, one of the other thugs decides to pee on his rug. Now that rug is instrumental to this film because it really ties the room together. That's it. It's more about the story of this rug than anything else that happens.
That
in this
rug
film.
doesn't just tie the room together, it ties the whole film together.
Yeah.
It is the MacGuffin. Because, you know, throughout the film, as an audience, you don't really give a rat's ass about that rug. But the dude really cares about it. So it is justification enough for him to go on this, you know, go down the rabbit hole, essentially, into Wonderland and meet all of these interesting characters, which is really the driving force of the film, not the fact that he wants his rug back.
Well, he does. He really wants that rug back, but he's kind of coerced into it by his friend Walter, played by John Goodman. Intense, and aggression are two words that you want to put on Walter, but he multiplies those words like by 20.
John Goodman's always said that this is his favourite film role ever. And I also think it's interesting that the Coens, when they were writing the film, the dude and Walter are inspired from real life people.
Yes.
Walter, I know, is an amalgamation of 4 different people into one. And the dude himself is actually from one of the Coens' best friends, also a director, who calls himself the dude.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, and dresses and acts like the dude. And it's just like, you know, so it's almost documentary-esque in terms of taking these real-life people and putting them in this film.
Finishing off their group of bowlers, you've got Steve Buscemi playing Donnie. Now, if there's one issue I have with The Big Lebowski, is the fact that Donnie gets fucking aggressively attacked by Walter far too much in this movie.
We're talking about unchecked aggression here.
What the fuck is he talking
My
about?
rug.
Forget it, Donnie. You're out of your element.
Those are good burgers, Walter.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Man in the black pajamas, dude. Worthy fucking adversary.
Who's in pajamas, Walter?
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
He's so quiet, you know, and he just kind of interjects every now and again because he didn't quite catch something or he doesn't understand what's going on. And he's just always shouted down by Walter. Shut the fuck up, Donnie. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're out of your element. And I'm always sat there like, all right, calm down, Walter. Seriously, what is your big issue with Donnie? Because, you know, in other parts of the movie, Walter is happy to kind of take Donnie with him. You know, he's happy to leave the dude alone and take Donnie with him. But I'm just like, weirdly enough, in the real world, Donnie would turn around at one point and be like, if you keep fucking talking to me like that, I'm going to knock you the fuck out.
I don't think so. I don't think Donnie's got that within him at all, you know, which is, it's kind of a quirk of his character. And the fact that the dude hardly ever acknowledges him ever. And if he does, it's almost like a blasé response.
Yeah.
And yeah, you do kind of end up feeling quite sympathetic towards Donnie throughout the film. So after meeting at the bowling alley, the dude decides it's time to go and visit the Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Lebowski, who was the one who the perpetrators intended to piss on's rug. And I just love Philip Seymour Hoffman playing this character of Brandt,
yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, he's just introducing the dude to all of the achievements of the Big Lebowski. And it's just, I love this character, the way he's just, you know, uncomfortable yet sort of trying to be this businessman, this smart presented character.
I took him more of a kind of a lost puppy, you know. He's constantly following around the Big Lebowski, you know, and jumping up at his leg and wants the best for them both, you know. But the big Lebowski, the real Lebowski, is a selfish git.
Yeah, and this scene also really serves as a reflection, literally with the mirror, about achievements and personal successes. And of course, you know, the dude doesn't really care about all of those things. And it's, and that is again a reflection on the society and those sort of characters.
I do like the way that you sit for half the movie for me, I sit for half the movie questioning what the dude does or what he has done.
Well, it was in an early draft of the script that the dude sort of living off the income of being of having inherited a small amount of money from the inventor of the Rubik's Cube. But that was dropped out of the script, and so it's never really explained how he's managing to exist.
Well, he explains it to Maude later on in the movie about how, you know, he was part of a writers group, you know, and they're quite famous, and then he dabbled in music for a bit and made a music company. So for me, after a while, once you find out the information, you go, he is unemployed and he is a bit of a bum, but he's paid his dues up to that point, and now he's kind of just living off the royalties.
Yeah.
You know, smoking weed and drinking White Russians.
You fucking A.
And so, you know, there's the great conversation where the Big Lebowski's just like, the bum's lost, you know, your revolution is over, escape the 60s, man, and get out. And you got to admit the comic timing of these characters as well. You kind of like, you know, there's no laugh track.
Yeah.
You know, there's no applause. This is a funny moment. It's just that, you know, the first time I watched the film, I hardly laughed at all. But as you get older, you sort of realise that the comedy is in there.
Yes.
And you just, it's not the obvious jokes that get you. It's the subtle, well-written jokes that are buried under all of this dialogue that just make you laugh.
And delivered well.
Yes.
This is something I've always found with a lot of Coen Brothers movies, is that, yes, they've written the story and they've written the script, but it's only really done well and delivered to you by the acting of the actors. For example, in that situation with the Big Lebowski and the dude, it's the way the Big Lebowski is going on about all of his achievements and everything he's done, the fact that he's been to Korea and he even though he's lost the use of his legs, he still managed to achieve more. And flicking it back to Jeff Bridges, sat there in the chair, putting on a pair of sunglasses and kind of relaxing back like, I don't give a fuck, man. That's funny to me, because I look at Jeff Bridges and I'm like, that's the way I kind of want to be. I want to look at somebody and be like, you're egotistical, you're going on about all these achievements, and I really don't give a fuck. To the point where he gets up, he walks, it's the way he closes the door mid-sentence, walks up to Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Brandt's just like, so what did he say? Oh, he said I could take any rug in the house. just walks out with his own new rug.
Yeah. Well, and then we're introduced to Bunny, Talon Reed. And, you know, and again we get to see the extent of this relationship between the Big Lebowski and his, his wife, who's like a third his age.
Yeah.
And we're just like, okay, we can see exactly, we've told exactly everything we needed to know.
I'll suck your cock for $1,000.
Wonderful woman. We're all very fond of her, very free-spirited.
Brand can't watch, though, or he has to pay $100.
Just like, okay, he's rich. The Big Lebowski is rich. Why does she need money like that? But the mystery will unfold as the movie goes on.
Well, that's it. This film is inspired by film noir. And it is very much so. This film is a neo-noir. It is, inspired by those classic detective thriller movies.
Yeah.
Where it does then become a kidnapping and a case of who done it.
And the whole time we're just following the dude walking around. I mean, after this he'll go back to the bowling alley and meet up with Donnie and Walter. And Walter turns up late and he's got his ex-wife's dog with him. And we've got to remember as well that Walter is part Jewish and won't work on Shomer Shabbos.
I also think it's important to note that this is that Walter is very much of a man who will not be held down by anything or anyone, and always fights for everything that he believes in because he drew the line in the sand.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as his ex-wife is like asks him to do something, he's instantly done it.
Yeah.
He's still under the thumb of his ex-wife, and it's like, this is the same Walter, right?
This is it. This is the same aggression that Walter has. Is whenever he says something, you're sat there and you're just like, he's kind of right, but not in a certain way.
It's warped.
But it's warped, and it's the way he's like, "Am I right? Am I right? I'm right. Am I right?" And you end up just saying yes because you have to, because he won't shut the fuck up. But it's in that bowling alley scene where he notices the guy's foot has gone over the line, so he calls it a foul. And the guy's like, "No, my foot wasn't over. Mark it down, dude. Mark it down." And Walter, no hesitation, just pulls a gun out of his bowling bag. And it's the whole world of pain speech.
You're entering a world of pain.
Walter, man.
You mark that frame and 8, you're entering a world of pain.
I'm not.
A world of pain.
And you just sat there. It's just such a brilliant performance by John Goodman. And you can see the uncomfortability between Steve Buscemi and Jeff Bridges. And everybody else around, you're just like, they're going to call the cops in a minute. They're going to call the cops. And it's not until they're outside in the car that the cops turn up. And Walter's just like, "I'm calm, dude. I'm totally calm." And it's the way that he always goes quiet. And then he'll drop that last word in. And you're just like, "Will you shut the fuck up, Walter?"
Kind of reminds me of you, actually, Ian.
Fuck you.
Pacifism is not something to hide behind.
Just take it easy, man.
I'm perfectly calm, dude.
Yeah, waving the fucking gun around?
Calmer than you are.
You just take it easy.
Calmer than you are.
So the dude is told by Brandt and the Big Lebowski that Bunny has been kidnapped. And the kidnappers are wanting $1 million for her safe return. They want to give the money to the dude because he'll be able to identify if it's the two thugs from the beginning of the film, or if they're completely strangers, then, the dude can pass this information on to the police. The dude makes the big mistake by telling Walter, and Walter decides to come along with a bag full of his dirty underwear, because he's come up with a great plan that if they throw out the ringer, they'll be able to keep the $1 million for themselves. And the whole situation in the car is just so funny and so awkward at the same time, because you're just watching them argue while the phone's ringing.
Yeah, when the phone rings and he answers it, and Walter's just like, "They're a bunch of fucking amateurs."
Yeah, and
the dude's just like, no, I mean, well, yeah, just me and the driver. It was only supposed to be one of us, but... And the guy on the other end hangs up, and the dude's just like, "Oh, you fucked it up! You fucked it up!" And Walter's like, "No, they're a bunch of fucking amateurs. They'll call back. They'll call back." And of course, they ring back, and as soon as they ring back, they're still arguing. And Walter's like, "A bunch of fucking amateurs." It's just like...
They explain their plan to the dude, and then the dude tells Walter, and Walter's just like, "That's not going to work. That's not going to work with our plan." And the dude's just like, "Will you phone them back and tell them, right, okay, dude, we're going to pass the bridge, I'm going to throw the bag out, and then at 50 miles per hour, I'm going to leap out of the car with my Uzi, I'm going to grab hold of one, beat the fuck out of him, and we're going to find the information where this kidnap woman is. We'll rescue her and we can keep the $1 million for ourselves. Yeah, it doesn't go like that.
And so you just see the kidnappers, you presume, get on the bikes and ride off. You see the dude chasing them with the actual briefcase. And so you're like, wow, they're boned.
Yeah. And this whole next sequence, like I said, the comedy is there, but you've really got to be a fan and knowledgeable with the Coen brothers to know, like Gary said, to notice those little things. Because it's the fact that he sits there the whole time with the phone ringing. The phone's just constantly ringing and he's just not acknowledging it because obviously he knows that they haven't passed the money over and the money's still in the car. And they go outside of the bowling alley and the car's gone. And what's even better is when he gets the police to come to his house and starts to be giving the information to the police about his car, but the phone is still ringing, and so the policemen are they've got this look on their face like, are you going to answer that? And the dude's just like, I'm just going to ignore it until it goes away.
It's one of my favourite lines in the film when Donnie's just like, phone's ringing, dude. I know, Donnie. He just walks off. It's just like, just perfect timing.
Oh, fuck it.
Where you going, dude?
Going home, Donnie.
Phone's ringing, dude.
Thank you, Donnie.
Maude, played by Julianne Moore. Damn. I'm a bit of a fan of Julianne Moore, and this film kind of opened my eyes to her, the willingness that she was going to go through for some acting credit.
Again, she said that this again is one of her favorite roles in film, and she was always very surprised at how this film wasn't immediately critically praised, because she thought that this was a masterpiece at the time of completion, and the character she plays is a very strong-willed woman who has very interesting art projects.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially, her apartment is fantastic. Just looking around at all of her different art projects, you can really get a sense of who this woman is.
Yeah.
And you find out that she is the daughter of the Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
How she's estranged from him because she doesn't really like the way that he's doing things. Kind of sees him almost as a fraud. And her work is very sexualized as well. And, it's almost like her first introduction is almost her having an orgasmic climax all over her artwork, to which she splashes all over the dude and, kind of gives him a tissue afterwards. And it's just like, what is this? And then she proceeds to talk to him about vaginas.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that she's like, some men find it difficult around the word vagina. And I'm like, no. Vaginas are cool, but they're very easily able to say things about their penis or their Johnson, and I'm just like, yeah, I can go with that.
It's after repeated viewings of this film that I've come to realise that Maude is the linchpin for the whole series of events in the film.
Yeah,
she was the one who would have told Bunny to go on holiday. She would have been the one to tell the nihilists about the plan. She was the one who managed to know about the dude and his meeting with her father. And she's the one who orchestrates then sending him off to the doctor to be examined, who then also in turn gets him sent off to go and find Jackie Treehorn after she introduces him to the log jamming video. Yeah. And so you're just like, she is the one who's orchestrated everything.
¡Qué ridículo!
One of the coolest scenes is when Jeff Bridges is kind of just sat there in the bath, smoking a cigarette, shall we say.
Listening to Whale song.
Yeah, and he's just chilling in the bath. And I always love actors who you don't really expect to be actors. And yet they manage to pull off brilliant scenes. And we see the nihilists come into the dude's apartment. And you've got Peter Stormare there. Obviously another familiar face from Fargo and the devil from Constantine and
lots of other things.
Lots of other films. But you've also got Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Now the only other acting credit I can probably put Flea with is Back to the Future 2 and Back to the Future 3. So I always liked him in those, but then to see him in this, he is a really, really good character. And there's a brilliant scene where they come into the bathroom where the dude is, and they just drop a ferret into the bath. And I start to freak out, just like the dude does, because I'm like, is that a real ferret? What the fuck's going on? What the hell? And they explain to him, look, we want the money. We want the money. Where's the money, Lebowski? And he's just like, who the fuck are you? He recognizes Peter Stormare from the log jamming video, but, are they the kidnappers? What the fuck's going on? So I just really think that even though it's kind of out of place, that scene as well really, really works, because you've got this unknown character from Flea playing a really good part next to some big stars, or what would become big stars, with Peter Stormare and Jeff Bridges.
You think we are kidding or taking with the funny stuff?
But you think you haven't dreamed of, Lebowski.
Yeah.
I loved the sequence as well where it's the first dream sequence where the rug is first stolen from the dude.
Yeah.
And, it's just him flying above the city, just the music and the whole metaphor with the bowling ball.
Yeah.
And Maude on the flying carpet riding off. And so, after that amazing dream sequence, it's pretty much building up to my favourite sequence in the whole film. And after some investigation, the dude ends up at Jackie Treehorn's Malibu beach party.
Yeah.
And, you get to see the naked lady on the giant man-made trampoline.
Yeah, that's weird.
This guy's expression always makes me laugh. And I love the sequence where Jackie and the dude are talking. And you can see that Jackie's on the phone to someone and he's writing something down.
Yeah.
And then he goes off and the dude's like, right, let's go and get some information. He does the quick sketch that you would see in like detective movies. And then you're just like, oh, okay, I guess this really is, this is all that Jackie Treehorn's got on his mind. And then you realise that when they're talking again later, that the dude's been drugged.
Yeah.
And later you would find out that this was Jackie Treehorn's way of getting the dude here so that he could send his lackeys over to the dude's apartment to ransack the place to also find this money. But the dream sequence that occurs when the dude is passed out, to Kenny Rogers just stepped in to see what condition my condition was in, is just one of my favourite sequences in film. From Saddam Hussein being the guy spraying the shoes to all of the female dancers with massive bowling pin hats and accessories.
Yeah.
The bowling ball chest plate on Julianne Moore's character. Just the music, the dancing, the fact that the dude is also wearing the log jamming outfit overalls of the cable repairman.
Yeah, the Jeff Bridges dance throughout it is amazing.
Absolutely. And just the whole sequence together is just brilliant. And then of course it does descend into the nightmare.
Yeah.
And again, you can also see the connections here, especially they threatened castration beforehand, and you see them running at the camera with the giant scissors.
Yeah.
And those same giant scissors with the red background can be seen in Maude's apartment during her introduction. And so you're just like, all these little things have been placed in the film are all bleeding into this nightmare.
I just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in.
As the film starts to wrap up, though, you kind of start to realise that not only does none of this make any sense, but most of this actually doesn't do anything. Because once the dude has been arrested by the Malibu police, told to never come to Malibu again because the police chief doesn't like him, jumps in a taxi and doesn't like the fact that the guy's playing the Eagles, which, it's quite upsetting, actually.
I almost stopped the film as well and was like, what? The dude doesn't like the Eagles? Why the fuck not?
And he gets thrown out into the middle of the road by the taxi driver. And while he stood there, we see this red car speed past. And we realise it's Bunny, who seems absolutely fine and not kidnapped. And then we zoom down to her toes, and we realise that she's got all of her toes. And so you're just like, what the fuck's going on? We followed the dude home, and he realizes his house has been trashed by Jackie Treehorn. Trips over that piece of wood that he put in front of his door. I mean, you watched him beat this piece of wood into the door, and then you realize the door opens outwards. So there was no point for that piece of wood. But the dude trips over it later on when he comes home. And Maude's there, strips off all of her clothes and says, "Love me, dude." And they have sex. And it was all orchestrated by her when she sent him to the doctors, because she wants to be a mother. And the dude's a bit like, "Whoa, hold on a minute." You know, she says to him, "Don't worry about it. I don't want you involved." You know, you don't have to do anything. And he's like, "Okay." Yeah, fine. But the dude starts to work it all out then when she explains to him about the fact that her dad has no money. He starts to realise, hang on a minute, you know, this was just all a ploy by the Big Lebowski just to get $1 million for himself. And it kind of off-putting because it cuts to the restaurant with the nihilists all sat there, and they're all ordering breakfast or whatever, and then you look down at one of the nihilist toes, and she's got a toe missing, because that was the toe that the nihilist gave to the Lebowski to give to the dude to say, "Look, Bunny is still being kidnapped." And you're like, what the fuck? There's all these characters, there's all this stuff going on, and like none of it actually means to anything.
And then we get introduced to Brother Seamus, who's a private dick, who explains that the Knutsids have been involved since the beginning. Or he's been working for the Knutsids.
Yeah.
And the dude's just like, who the fuck are the Knutsids? Like, how, you know, there's not much film left.
That's it.
You're introducing another element, and you find out
they're Bunny's mum and dad.
Yes, yeah, and you find out that she kind of ran away from her parents at a young age because, you know, she lived on this farm. But you find out that she's kind of a nymphomaniac, and so life on the farm is really not cut out for her. Okay.
And you just get a bunch of funny, awkward scenes.
Well, that's it. This film was heavily criticised for having no real structure whatsoever. There's so many scenes in the film that you could take out, and would not be missed. However, those scenes to me are integral to the dude and his way of life, his philosophy.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's from his landlord turning up and telling him that he's missed rent day.
Oh god, the tree performance. Oh,
yeah,
god.
the tree performance, the opera house. You know, it's so awkward, but it's like, you know, and there's the scenes with Jesus, John Turturro. You know,
those are
you could take all those
amazing.
scenes out, and the film would carry on as normal. And it's like, but so why is it in there? And it's world building. It's just bringing more extra characters to life, and the insanity that is. And yeah, John Turturro, he only has like 2 scenes in the film, and he even gets his own flashback.
Nobody fucks with the Jesus.
He's a great character, and the Coen brothers have always said, we hate sequels. We will never make a sequel.
Yeah.
And, there has been a lot of fandom and a lot of pressure from Big Lebowskiites saying, we want a sequel. We want to see the continuing adventures of Walter and the Dude. And even John Turturro has been hounding the Coen brothers, make a movie about me. I want a Jesus spin-off movie. Whether it's him bowling or his past, his history. It's like, well, I really want a bowling pedophile movie.
That's a bit much. But that's the thing, because it's like, that's what Walter says, is always he's a pedophile. And I take Walter's word for it, but like you said, his sometimes his information gets warped.
Yeah.
It's like when the dude finds that piece of homework in his car after the car gets stolen, and so him and Walter go to this kid's house to show him the homework so that they can find out where the money is from the back of the car. And the kid, it's such an awkward scene because the kid doesn't say a thing, and his dad is in a iron lung in the back of the room. And so Walter just starts screaming at the kid, this is what you get when you fuck a stranger in the ass. This is what you get. And they go outside and they mistake the bright red Corvette outside to be this kid's new car. So Walter smashes the shit out of this car until the neighbour comes out and goes, "That's my car," and he starts smashing up the dude's car, and you're just like, what the fuck, Walter? You fucked it again. Fucked it again.
It's a great moment. It's a great scene, and you're just watching it just get ramped up as you're seeing Walter get frustrated with this kid who won't say anything to him. And I love it's one of the greatest quotes in the film. This is what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass. But for television syndication of this film, they kind of had to censor it a little bit.
Yeah.
This film has a lot of F-bombs.
Oh, yeah.
They also say the dude a lot, and man. And I love that the censored version of this sequence is, this is what happens when you meet a stranger from the Alps.
You see what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps? That's what happens. This is what happens when you feed them scrambled eggs.
I was like, that really works. It covers it up very well.
You see what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass? That's what happens. You see what happens, Larry? You see what happens, Larry? Do you see what happens, Larry, when you fuck a stranger in the ass?
And when we come to the wrap-up of the film, Walter and the dude have obviously uncovered the whole plan and have gone to see the Big Lebowski. And they start questioning him, and the Big Lebowski is defending himself. "You've got nothing on me. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Get the fuck out of my house." It's the way Walter throws him out of the chair. Because he's seen a lot of spinal injuries, and this man is not paralyzed. He just empties the Lebowski out to the floor, and you're just like, "Walter, what the fuck are you doing? You just fucking it all up." But it comes to one of the saddest parts of this movie. As funny and great as this film is, they return to the bowling alley, and they play a few games. They meet up with Jesus, and Jesus is angry at Walter for not wanting to work on a Saturday. And they return out to the dude's car, and it's on fire. The nihilists have finally killed his car. And there's this brilliant fight sequence between the dude and his team and the nihilists, and bowling balls get thrown around. And
when that guy got hit with that bowling ball, I kind of lost my breath as well. I was like,
that's a couple of broken ribs there. But Donnie suffers a heart attack during the fight sequence.
Yeah. It was kind of a little bit foreshadowing. On his last bowl, he's going for the strike, and it leaves one pin there.
Yeah.
And you just see that look on his face, and like all these omens are just all pointing to the fact that this is the end for Donnie. Of all the characters, it's just so sad when you see him having that heart attack. You're like, he didn't deserve this.
And he gets cremated, and the dude and Walter decide to scatter his ashes out on the Pacific Ocean by the beach. And Walter gives this brilliant speech about somehow how it connects to Vietnam.
Everything connects to Vietnam for Walter.
Connects to Vietnam. But there was one bit in this sequence, and I got to bring this up, is after Walter has thrown the ashes out, and they've blown back into the dude's face, and so now he's kind of half covered by his friend's remains. The dude starts, giving shit to Walter, and Walter kind of stands there all kind of sad, because I'm assuming the dude is like his only friend, and he's afraid of losing his friend. And they hug. And in the background, on a cliff edge in the very background, you see this guy just walk. Now, I'd like to meet that guy. I'd like to know who that guy is, because it must have been a weird day back in 97, 98 to be walking along, just having a nice day, walk out in the sun, come across the top of this cliff edge and see two guys hugging. down the bottom, and not realise that it's John Goodman and Jeff Bridges, and probably a whole state of crew members as well with cameras and shit. I just thought that was brilliant because it wasn't edited out. The camera doesn't move or anything. Nobody went, "Oh, we got to get rid of that bit because that guy is there." They just kind of left it there because you had this brilliant shot of Walter and the dude just kind of hugging.
Yeah, and the film sort of ends. It's not every loose end is tied up. You know, the whole film has also been based around the fact that they're in a bowling competition.
Yeah.
Yet you never see the dude bowl once.
No.
The entire film. And you never see the outcome as to whether they won the tournament or not. Because it doesn't really matter. Nothing really matters to the dude either. So long as he's existing day to day and he's still happy,
Yeah.
then fuck it.
Fuck it.
The dude abides. I've got so many memorable moments and lines from the film. Yeah, the phone's ringing, dude. This is what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass. You know, you're opening yourself up to a world of pain. You know, a lot of Walter's lines, actually, are just so memorable and so quotable constantly. And again, right at the beginning, like, you know, when Jeff Bridges when the dude's had his head flushed down the toilet, and they're like, "Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the money?" And he just turns to them and says, "Oh, it's down there somewhere. I'll just have another look for it." You know, it's just great comedy, just great writing. But I guess if I had to choose one scene, I've mentioned it already, and it's the dream sequence, or the, you know, where he's passed out, drugged, and just the music, the imagery. It's just special. It's magic. Absolutely love that moment.
I just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in.
See, I'm going to cheat in this one. My favourite scenes all contain the dude. From then, you know, all of my favourite scenes, they've got Walter and Donnie.
Yeah.
You know, from that point, my favourite scenes are the dream sequences. My favourite scenes are them just at the bowling alley with John Turturro. It all comes back. It all comes back to the dude. I definitely recommend The Big Lebowski, but you have to be a Coen fan to get it, I suppose. You know, I don't know a better way to put it across. If you've never seen a Coen Brothers movie before, don't start with The Big Lebowski, because it might put you off with their future and other movies that they've done. Start with something easy. Start with something like Raising Arizona if you're wanting to see the comedy aspect of them. You know, start with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou to ease you in. If you're feeling hardcore, start with No Country for Old Men. You know, but go back. Once you've got through one of their films, go back and watch The Big Lebowski, because you'll notice those little things that not a lot of other movies do. You know, the film doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I suppose that's the point. It's not supposed to make sense. You're supposed to just kind of enjoy it. If the Coen brothers were actual novelists, they'd probably just make anthology books. You know, lots of little stories that you just jump from one to the other. There wouldn't be one big story with all these loose notes that they've got to fill in. It would just be little stories built up. With The Big Lebowski, it's the dude. You know, you're just going to sit back with him, drink a White Russian, smoke a joint, and just let the world go along with you.
Yeah. I'll concede that The Big Lebowski is not the Coen brothers' greatest film. However, it is my favourite of all the Coen brothers films.
Yeah.
But The Big Lebowski is also personal to me. I watch this film on my birthday every year. You know, first thing in the morning, it's either The Big Lebowski soundtrack, you know, or I'll just chill out for an hour and watch as much of the film as I can. It's special to me. I love the music. I love the philosophy of the dudism. And this film is structurally a mess. You know, as I said, it's a bunch of vignette scenes that are all over the place that structurally don't really need to be there. But it works.
Yeah.
It really works. It elevates the story of the dude and the way he sees things. I have to recommend The Big Lebowski. You know, if you missed it, go back and have a look at it, and then maybe give it a little while and then look at it again.
Yeah.
Because as I've said, with a lot of Coen Brothers films, you need to see them a couple of times to really digest everything. Whether you're looking at this film as a comedy or whether you're looking at this as, you know, the social commentary that it does provide as well, all the hidden meanings and clues within this film, the fact that it has spawned, you know, as you know, the whole philosophy and religion based upon it.
Yeah.
Whether you take it seriously or not, you know, it's a bit cringeworthy, I would say, but
yeah, but then, you know, they've made a religion out of Star Wars.
Exactly, yeah. You know, it's something that's just, it is to be celebrated, not to that extreme, But for me, the dude is sort of a reminder to everybody that sometimes you do just have to take it easy and go with the flow.
Yeah.
And there's no point getting frustrated and stressed out like Walter does. You know, sometimes you just have to just take it easy and shit happens. But yeah, otherwise, definitely check out The Big Lebowski.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place. Such a lovely place. Welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place. Such a lovely place.
Ah, fuck it, dude. Let's go bold.